So, what's the real difference between a manager and a leader? It's not just about getting tasks done. It's about inspiring people, building that rock-solid trust, and creating a space where everybody can really hit their stride. Today, we're going to dig into the blueprint for that kind of leadership, the kind that truly makes an impact.
Let's just kick things off with a big question, one I want you to really think about. Are you just a manager, or are you a true leader? Are you more focused on the checklists and the processes, or are you focused on the people and their potential? And believe me, this isn't just about words. It's a completely different mindset, and it's at the very heart of the journey we're about to go on. You see, before you can even think about leading other people, you have got to lead yourself. It's that simple. This first part of the journey is all about building an authentic, solid foundation. Because your leadership presence, it isn't something you can just put on in the morning like a jacket. It has to come from deep inside. The very first pillar of that foundation is credibility. And it really boils down to this. People have to believe that you know what you're doing, and more importantly, that you mean what you say. It's all about walking the talk every single day. If your actions don't line up with your words, well, everything else is just going to fall apart. Okay, so once you have that trust, the next pillar is connection. Now, this is not about being best friends with everybody on your team. It's about showing real, genuine empathy and taking the time to understand them. Do you know what actually motivates them? Do you have any idea what their biggest challenges are? A true leader builds bridges between people, not just boxes on an org chart.
Now, this next one, clarity, is so interesting because it gets overlooked all the time. You could have the most brilliant vision in the world, right? But if you can't communicate it clearly, it's basically useless. Great leaders are masters at cutting through the noise and ambiguity, making sure every single person knows the goal, they know the plan, and they know exactly what their part is in making it all happen. And the last pillar, the one that kind of holds it all together, is commitment. This is all about showing your team that you're right there in the trenches with them, especially when things get tough. It means you're modeling that same resilience, that same dedication that you expect from them. It shows you're invested in their success, not just your own.
So when you put it all together, credibility, connection, clarity, and commitment, they start to act like the 4 points on your leadership compass. They keep you pointed in the right direction. They guide your decisions. They help you find your true north as a leader, no matter what storm you're facing.
Okay, so you've got your foundation set. Now it's time to turn our focus outward. The most powerful, game-changing moments in leadership often happen in those one-on-one conversations. This is where the magic happens. This is where you unlock someone's potential and really help them grow.
And to do that, you have to understand the difference between two very different modes: managing versus coaching. Managing is telling. It's giving directions. And hey, it's absolutely necessary in a crisis when you need action right now. But coaching is all about building them up for the long haul. It's about asking powerful questions that help people find their own way forward.
And here is a fantastic, super practical tool for those coaching conversations. It's called the GROW model. It's a simple 4-step guide. First, you help them define the goal. Then, you get real about the current reality. Next, you brainstorm all the possible options. And finally, you nail down the will. What are you actually going to do? It's a roadmap for empowering people, not just telling them what to do.
Okay, but what about feedback? That can be tricky, right? Well, the SBI model makes it so much more constructive. First, you describe the specific situation. Then, you point out the observable behavior. And then, you explain its impact. So, it sounds like this. Hey, in the client meeting yesterday, that's the situation. When you interrupted them, that's the behavior. I noticed they kind of shut down. That's the impact. See? It makes the feedback about the action, not an attack on the person. Now, beyond all the formal conversations, let's talk about something simple: recognition. Just acknowledging good work can be a total game changer. I mean, get this. The research shows that when people feel seen and valued, their engagement goes through the roof by 2.7 times. That is a huge difference. And that engagement, it's directly tied to whether people stick around. A staggering 63% of employees say they are way more likely to stay at their job if they get regular recognition. In the job market today, that's not just a nice little perk. That is a massive strategic advantage.
And let's put one more number on it, just to drive it home. When recognition is a consistent thing, companies see a 31% reduction in people leaving voluntarily. So you add all that up and it's crystal clear.
Acknowledging good work isn't just fluffy stuff to make people feel good. It is a powerful business tool for building a stable, high-performing team.
All right, we've talked about leading yourself, and we've talked about leading individuals. Now, let's zoom out to that final, crucial level, leading the team as a whole. Because a truly unstoppable team is so much more than just a bunch of talented people. It's a cohesive, living, breathing unit. And you have to understand, teams naturally go through different stages. A guy named Tuckman mapped this out perfectly. They start out in the polite forming stage, then almost always they hit a bumpy storming phase with some conflict. But with the right guidance, they move into norming, and finally they reach that high-level performing stage. It's a totally predictable cycle.
And here's the key. Your leadership style has to change with the team. At the very beginning, you need to be direct. When conflict pops up, you've got to be a coach. As they start to find their groove, you become more of a supporter. And once they're really flying, your main job is to delegate and get out of their way. One size does not fit all.
So what's the secret sauce? What's the one thing that helps a team navigate all of these stages and come out stronger? Well, it all comes down to one critical idea: psychological safety. It's that core belief that you won't get punished or humiliated for speaking up, for sharing an idea, asking a question, raising a concern, or even admitting you made a mistake.
And if you want proof, look no further than Google. They did this massive study, Project Aristotle, to figure out what made their absolute best teams tick. They looked at everything you can imagine. And the #1 predictor of team effectiveness? It was psychological safety. It was more important than who was on the team or how smart they were. It was everything.
Whew! We have covered a lot of ground here, from your own internal compass to one-on-one conversations, all the way up to team dynamics. But here's the thing. All this knowledge is just potential energy. The real transformation, the real leadership, happens when you actually put it into practice.
So here's your challenge. Don't just let this be interesting information you heard. Pick one thing, just one. Maybe you'll schedule real, dedicated one-on-ones this week. Maybe you'll try using the SBI model for feedback. Or maybe you'll just focus on asking one more question in every conversation instead of just giving the answer. Small, consistent actions are what build great leaders.
And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Being a leader isn't some title you get or a finish line you cross. It's a practice. It's a skill you work on every single day. You're going to have setbacks, for sure, but every single interaction is a new chance to learn, to get better, and to have a positive impact on the people around you. So what are you going to practice today?